I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Gerald Celente. He's the publisher of the Trends Journal, available online at TrendsJournal.com. He's speaking to us from historic Kingston, New York. Gerald, welcome back to HowStreet.com radio.
Always great being on with you. Thanks for having me.
Gerald, the world is going nuts over Bitcoin. Are you buying any?
Yeah, I've bought Bitcoin, and I bought other cryptocurrencies, and of course in the Trends Journal we've been writing about it. Is it a trend or a fad? And we said, no, it's not a fad, it's a trend. And these people that are comparing it to the tulip bulb fiasco are making a very poor comparison. You can't eat a tulip. You can't even use it as a garnish. You only could look at it, and it looks nice to you. Cryptocurrencies are being used in trade. Matter of fact, Price Waterhouse Cooper even took payment in Bitcoin for their services. So to compare it to something like a tulip, it's non-comparable, but that's the one that you keep hearing over and over again. Now, in my generation, it was gold. This generation, the millennial generation, it's cryptocurrency. And they're buying into it, and it's bigger than the United States. It's worldwide. And it's also a hedge, like gold was, against fiat currencies. Because unlike fiat currencies, with cryptocurrencies, you only can print so many of them. There's a limit. And with fiat currencies, you can print all you want. So even a Bitcoin has a ceiling on it. And that's what's giving it the efficacy of why so many people are buying into it. For a year we heard that, it's going to reach 10,000, it's going to reach 10,000, and then it hits 13,000. So no, we see this going on. Will there be massive corrections? Of course there will be. Just like in anything that's overpriced and overbuilt and overspeculated in, whether it's housing, stock markets, malls, you name it. So when there's too many and the price-earning ratio is out of line, it goes down, and that's what we'll see. We'll see massive corrections, but we see these as long-term trends.
Now, it seems like everybody's scrambling to create their own cryptocurrency. 4 or 5 a day are being created. Do you think central banks and governments are worried about that?
Yes, and that's where you're going to start seeing also these ICOs, these initial coin offerings, where people are getting money to start businesses and they're paying them off with these ICOs. That's where we're going to see the crackdown happening. But you're even seeing it with governments like China. They closed down the Bitcoin exchanges. When they closed down the Bitcoin exchanges, there were about 5% of the Bitcoin action was coming out of China. So they closed them down in end of September 30th, 2017. Now the Bitcoin action going on in the world, 20% of it's coming out of China. They're going on to places like Telegram and these other secure internet sites to do their transactions. So as much as governments try to stop them, we see them expanding. But there's going to be more and more government action because it's taking away from the central banksters. The people are saying, we don't want your coin of the realm anymore. And when you go to China, for example, people aren't using cash or credit cards. They're using apps. So when you're using an app and the world is going cashless, give me the kind of cash that you're dealing with, and I'll deal with my own cash. And that's why you're seeing, as more of the world goes cashless, you're going to see more of the world going crypto, because it's just an alternative to the fiat currencies that again, people don't have faith in, a big portion of the millennial generation. And a matter of fact, when you look at the rise of Bitcoin, for example, you could track it right back to when China was going through a stock market panic and a currency devaluation back in 2015, early 2016. All of a sudden, the Chinese people started buying Bitcoin, and 90% of the Bitcoin action was coming out of China because rather than seeing their currency devalued and having less money to buy things with, they went into Bitcoin, and that's one of the reasons China tried to stop it.
Is lack of reliance or lack of security of the Chinese currency one of the reasons why the Chinese are so crazy about buying foreign real estate?
Sure. And again, they know the real estate boom going on there, but also let's look at the numbers. Matter of fact, one of our top trends for 2018 is going to be follow the Yellow Silk Road. And the Silk Road, of course, being, the one that they used to have years ago, and now their new Belt and Road Initiative in China. Go back to 2000. It's not ancient history. 5% of China's population was considered middle class. Then they joined the World Trade Organization. Now, some 35% of China's population is middle class. And you have a population of 1.3 billion people? That's more than the United States, to 0.3. And that's where we're at here. So you got a lot of people with a lot of money. And they're going to keep investing worldwide. The business of China is business. They're buying up the world. The business of America is war. We're going to bomb the shit out of them, said Trump. That's a quote, so you don't have to bleep me. That's his words. So America, the business of America is blowing up the world. And so as long as China stays in business, they're going to keep buying up more and more.
Are Bitcoin and cryptocurrency traders likely to be a target for the tax man?
At one point they will be, absolutely. And in some places they are already. So yes, so as long as they can keep paying their taxes, you're going to start seeing governments trying to get more a piece of the action, because that's all it's about. Look what just happened in America with Trump's new tax plan. I mean, you have taxes for the upper middle class, which isn't really that high, that are at medieval levels that they used to push on peasants. It's a tax plan that he pushed onto the American people that makes the rich richer, and the facts are there. It makes the middle class and lower classes poorer as these years wear on and we wear out. All the money's going to the top.
Do you think the Trump tax plan will help the U.S. economy?
Not at all, no. No, it's more trickle down, and and trickle down, you know what trickle down is. It goes down your leg and lands on top of whoever's below it. And that's all it ever was and all it will be. No, the facts are there. You look at the numbers coming out and the research behind it. It's only going to enrich the major corporations. That's it.
Is it really true the big tax breaks go to the people who contributed to Trump's campaign?
Of course, and it's not only the triple. It's we used to have a thing called a state tax here. They're going to be doing away with it. So it just keeps the oligarchy growing. And you go back to the days of when America was the land of opportunity, and you had Dwight D. Eisenhower, for example, was president. You know what the tax rate was for the top? 90%. Now we give the billionaires like a Bezos, who's worth $100 billion. He opens up one of his slave factories in a city near you, and they give him $5 billion in tax breaks? What $5 billion? That's not tax breaks. It's taking the money from we, the taxpayers, and giving it to him. So that's what America's become. 3 people have more dough than half the nation's population combined. That's only a fact. Bezos, Gates, and Buffett. And all this does is enrich the richer.
Would it have made any difference if Hillary Clinton had been elected?
Nah, it's more the same. Would the tax breaks have been as egregious? I don't know. But you could bet on the war front it would be. So again, and you look at Bill Clinton. I mean, the Clintons killed America with NAFTA, with the deregulation of the Federal Communications Act that put the hands of the 90% of our communications and broadcast is controlled by 6 people. Oh, and how about Slick Willie Clinton killing the Glass-Steagall Act that allowed the big banks to get bigger and destroyed the country with the panic of '08 because of the big real estate crisis and derivatives baloney that they built. It all came from the Clintons. So Greenberg, iceberg, what's the difference,
We'll have more with Gerald Celente right after the break.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE symbol CRL and the pink symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
I'm Bill McWilliam, president of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
Welcome back. We're talking with Gerald Celente. Gerald, how close is the Middle East to war?
Very close. It's and especially now that Trump's come out and said they're going to move the United States Embassy to Jerusalem. You're looking at the collusion between Saudi Arabia and Israel to go after Iran. You're looking at, you remember Obama said that, quote, Russia was getting caught in a quagmire by getting involved in Syria. Well, I guess Obama was wrong again. They didn't get caught in a quagmire. They actually defeated the people in Syria, the radical Islamic groups that Saudi Arabia backed, along with the United States, the UK, and its coalition of the killing. So now you see Saudi Arabia, when all else fails, they take you to war. Their government, their economy is failing. Saudi Arabia needs oil at $100 a barrel to balance their budget. And now oil moved up to around $60 a barrel on crude. And now it's moving back down because there's too much supply and not enough demand. Saudi Arabia said that Iran declared war against them. They said Lebanon declared war against them. They didn't declare war against them. Saudi Arabia declared war against Yemen, destroyed the country, killed over 15,000 people. 50,000 children will die this year in Yemen because of the economic crisis, the cholera epidemic that has infected over 1 million. And on and on. So the world it's a declaration of war that's been declared by Saudi Arabia. The facts are there. I'm not making that up. They're saying these other nations declared war against them. And now the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia are going after Iran. And Iran isn't Libya, it's not Iraq, and it's not Syria. These are the Persians. They're not going anywhere. So declaring war against Iran and going after them, and Israel coming out and saying that they will not tolerate Iran being in Syria. Who is Israel to say that Iran shouldn't be in Syria? So, you can see the Middle East is ready to explode. It's not going to be North Korea, because if the United States invades or attacks North Korea, say goodbye to Seoul. Yeah, and Seoul, the metropolitan area, has 25 million people? And it's 35 miles away from the borders of North Korea. and say goodbye to Japan. So we don't see it happening in North Korea. We see it in the Middle East.
We'll have more with Gerald Celente right after this.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink CYDVF, and on Frankfurt C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HowStreet.com. Welcome back. We're speaking with Gerald Celente. Gerald, the Dow keeps hitting record highs. Is this likely to continue?
Yes, it's going to continue as long as cheap money keeps flowing into the marketplace, and with Trump's new tax policy, it's going to be a boon for Wall Street because the corporations are going to have more money. And when you look at the facts, what's driven the market up are corporate buybacks. They haven't put their profits into building capital in improvements. They put it into stock buybacks. So as long as money stays cheap, interest rates stay low, the market keeps going up. And will there be a correction? Of course there will be. Everybody knows that. And we're saying about a 10% correction. But again, absent a wild card, and a wild card is like the wars that we're talking about, we see the markets just keep going up. And again, there's no wilder card than the Trump card, so anything can happen. But absent a wild card event, be it man-made or by Mother Nature, the markets are probably near their peak now, because their PE ratios, according to the Schiller Index, are at pre-1929 and pre-dot-com crash levels. So we're probably near the top. We'll see slower growth. But again, the only time a correction comes is when interest rates become too high, lack of money going back into the markets because of corporations not buying stock buybacks, because most of the stocks are controlled by only in the United States 10% of the population controls over 90% of the market, owning about $350,000 worth of stocks. And the rest of society that has that 10% has on average about 15,000. So even if the stock market goes down, it'll be a top-down failure. It won't hurt the people like the dot-com crash, where many people were invested in it, or the panic of '08, where people lost their houses because of the subprime crisis.
Gerald, Home Depot just announced a $15 billion share buyback plan. Is that good for their shareholders, or is it just a way for the CEO to get another bonus because the shares went up?
It's mostly for the CEOs, and that's all it's ever been. So the rich are getting richer, as I said, and the rest of society is getting poorer.
Could oil surprise to the upside?
We don't see an upside to oil unless there's a crisis in the Middle East. That'll bring the oil prices up. That's what I said. When all else fails, they take you to war. And that's what Saudi Arabia is doing with the Crown Prince. And, this guy's, 32 years old, and he's just about basically running the country. At 30 years old, he started the war in Yemen. I remember when I was at 30 years old, I certainly wasn't in shape to run a country, And, but anyway, the Crown Prince, the king, they say his father is getting ill, and this was a palace purge recently, so he gains more power. And of course, you know how he became a prince.
Well, it's what, subterfuge and dangerous things?
No, Jim. You should know.
Yeah.
The princess kissed a frog, and the frog became a prince.
Oh, of course.
Don't you know that? What prince?
Yes.
There's a gang that began in around 1934. That's when the country was founded. King, prince. It's a dictatorship, and a very brutal one at that. One of the most repressive nations in the world, and it's our great ally. Oh, they're going to let the women drive in June. Isn't that great? Yeah. How many heads did they behead this year? So anyway, we don't see oil prices going up unless there's war.
What's behind all these princes being rounded up in Saudi Arabia?
Again, it's a power grab. End of story.
Is the petrodollar under pressure from the petro yuan?
It's going to be, but not yet, because China's, sinking in debt. There are going to be more and more trades going on with China and Russia, Venezuela, even Saudi Arabia, where China is going to buy their oil and give them yuan rather than dollars, but they could cash the yuan into gold. But again, China's really burdened with a heavy debt problem, and their yuan as a reserve currency is minimal. It's under 2% in world trade. So there's a ways to go, but this is the future of where it's going, so we're keeping an eye on it.
Throughout history, have wars been started to gain power for currencies?
I don't believe so. I think they've been started by megalomaniacs and psychopaths and sociopaths. And that's all it's ever been. I mean, look at the people. Whether it's Hitler, Mussolini. How about George Bush lying us into war, and all the people joining him, Blair and the rest, into Iraq? How come there's no war crime tribunals? How come? Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda, and if you go back to the time when it was going on, there were many of us saying that there was no proof, and matter of fact, there was proof that he didn't. And so why aren't there war crime tribunals? That's nothing to do. It's just sick minds. And there are sick minds it's around the world. It's a disease that's been inflicting humanity for as long as we could look back in history.
Is the U.S. Fed likely to hike rates this month?
Yes. Yeah, it's 99% we're seeing it happen.
Are banks starting to constrict lending?
A little bit, but they want to get back into the lending business because that's how they make their money. So when interest rates go up, we're going to start seeing them actually try to lend more, because that's when they make more money. They don't make a lot of money with low interest rates. So as interest rates go up, you're going to start seeing more bank lending.
Gold and silver have been on a trading range. Could that cause them to resume their bull market?
No, we see gold and silver as not in a bull market right now, because again, as interest rates go up, the opportunity cost of holding both gold and silver increases, and so you're going to see money going into different directions. So we think gold and silver in their trading range now, and the downside risk we see for gold is another $100 to $150. 150 down, and we've been saying this now going on 4 years, that gold has to break over $1,400 an ounce and stay there steadily before it increases in value.
Who's winning, globalization or nationalization?
Globalization. They have these small nationalistic movements, but globalization's where the future's going, like it or not. And again, we're political atheists. We believe in self-sustaining economies. But you're seeing it again with the China Belt and Road Initiative. Is globalization in spades.
Is the globalization versus nationalization narrative likely to cause large market swings? Not
really. The only thing that's going to cause large market swings are wars and panics. And not talk, and we haven't seen those happening yet. And the panic is going to come, for example, when the bubbles start bursting in the overvalued markets, whether they're in housing or equities. But as long as central banksters keep pumping money into to keep the Ponzi scheme going, that's what stops the market swings from happening. And again, the Trump tax plan is going to be more money for Ponzi because it's going to allow the corporations to gamble more.
Are brick-and-mortar retail businesses in trouble due to the Internet revolution, or is it that people are just running out of money and credit?
Good question, because that's one of our top trends for 2018, brick-and-mortar bounce back. And no, the brick-and-mortar is dying because For years, they've been overbuilding malls. And yes, there's no question that, the internet revolution and online shopping is going to continue. But there's still the shopping experience. But we lost the shopping experience because of the merger and acquisition activity and everybody becoming the same. The bigs buying everything. Isn't it fun going into a big box store? Yeah, how about going into a large self-storage unit? Because that's what they feel like. So the brick and mortars that are going to survive are going to be the small town ones that bring back the experience and uniqueness that's been lost with the bigs. But, people still want to go shopping, still like the experience, and will buy things that for different reasons. Will people go online shopping to buy, things that they're going to continue. But again, there's room for both, and we see brick and mortar growing, particularly in cityscapes rather than malls.
Is the growth of electric vehicles faster than expected?
No, it's slower. There's more buzz than reality. Take China. China's investing billions of dollars into NEVs, new electric vehicles. China last year they produced about 24 million cars. Guess how many electric vehicles they sold? Under 400,000.
10% of them.
No.
Not 1%.
24 million produced of vehicles, new vehicles. They sold less than 400,000 electric vehicles. So electric vehicles are limited, and we're going to keep seeing they're limited until they come up with a new technology. And it's not batteries, because batteries are an 1800s technology. And so we need something new that's going to make it thrive. And right now you're also seeing advancements in new motor oils and other advancements in combustion engines that are not only going to bring down the price but increase the efficiency of combustion engines. So new electric vehicles have a long way to go before they become a mainstream item.
Is clean tap water becoming a rarity?
Yeah, of course it's going to become a rarity. You look at the numbers. Go back to 1900. How many people were on the planet? About 1.5 billion. Now we have about 7.5 billion? Adding 6 billion in a little over 100 years. And then all the pollution. You want to dump trillions of tons of poisons into the air, earth, and water. You think it's going to have a negative effect? So we've been saying the whole bottled water, clean water trend, we identified that going back to 1986, and it's only going to increase.
Is Canada in a real position to exploit that, considering about a third of the world's fresh water is in Canada?
Yes, of course, but it's not going to be Canada that exploits it. It's going to be the multinationals. So the Canadian people, unless the Canadian government, puts it out there and makes it a public utility that they sell and give the profits back to the people, there's no profit in it for the people of Canada.
Yeah, I think right now Nestle gets water from the Vancouver area for about 25 cents per million liters.
Yep. And because the politicians are a bunch of low-life sellouts, and that's why they do it.
Is the fake news media phenomena here to stay?
It's never left. Again, I talked about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda. How about that garbage rag called the New York Times that like to call themselves the paper record? I call them the toilet paper record. They're the ones that sold us with Saddam Hussein having, these aluminum tubes and yellow cake and all of that. Nah, they're all a bunch of lying lowlifes, and most of them. They've been selling fake news, hate, and propaganda, just like the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. They didn't hack into the United States elections. There's not one piece of evidence. No, it's only the assessment of the intelligence agencies. Yeah, the same assessment that keeps taking us to war. Intelligence? How about an IQ of about 10? So no, they've been selling fake news forever, and they just keep doing it.
Have a percentage of politicians and government officials been corrupt throughout history, or is this a new phenomena?
Take a trip around the world. It's been going on forever. And, if you want to be a politician, it's important, that you look up the definition of a politician, because not only if you want to be one, if you want to support one, look up the definition. When you support them, what's a politician? A person who acts in a manipulative and devious way, typically to gain advancement with an organization. Yeah, that's if you Google that up. And they people that want power. So they're power hungry. I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. So no, it's the nature of the beast. There's sociopaths and psychopaths. How many do it for the social good?
Canada is going to be legalizing recreational pot July 1st, and I'm hearing all these stories from local government officials, other provinces across Canada. Oh my God, we don't have time to get ready for this. We're going to have impaired drivers all over the road. Our kids are all going to be hooked on pot. And I look at neighboring Washington State where it's been legal. I talked to friends there. So were there riots in the streets? Were the police overwhelmed with crazed hordes of pot addicts? And their answer was no. Life was exactly the same the day after it became legal as it is right now. Do you feel, Gerald, that's what's going to happen in Canada? Life is going to be exactly the same.
Look at Colorado, same thing. The only reason pot was legal forever. It was just a 1930s invention. When they banned alcohol, they decided, we can't let people smoke pot because we're not making money off alcohol anymore. This weed's been growing longer than politicians, By the way, with all these sexual abuse things coming out lately, I've got a solution for that one too. Bring back the brothels. So we could have transgender brothels, LBGQ ones. We could go crazy, because here's the deal: the only reason they're bringing pot back is to bring in tax revenues. End of story.
What market?
And that's the only thing, it's all about money. So the bottom line's going to be the bottom line. You're going to have a bunch of hypocritical politicians saying, you want to ban something? Look at the opiate crisis. How about the war on drugs going against the drug companies? If we want to have a real war on drugs. So again, this is it's baloney. And when you hear these morons saying that it's a gateway drug, there's absolutely no evidence of that at all. The gateway drugs are the pharmaceutical drugs that have caused the crisis that we have now. And again, talking about the Clintons before, it was also Slick Willie Clinton that allowed the drug companies in the United States to put their advertisements on TV. Before that, it was banned. And since that happened, you could look at the charts and you see the increase of use of pharmaceutical drugs. And there's not one allotropic drug on the market, not one that cures a chronic degenerative disease.
I truly believe the gateway drug is tobacco. I've never seen a drug addict who didn't use tobacco.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But the government makes a lot of money on that, too. Are there any other trends you're currently watching?
Oh, yeah. We're coming out with a new trends journal, the top trends of 2018. We just came out with a new trends journal, and now we're coming out with the top trends of 2018. So there are loads of different trends in there on the environment front, the food front, the energy front, driverless cars, on and on and on, to cryptocurrencies. So we look at over, hundreds of trends in different areas on a daily basis, always making connections between them. So, from, again, one of the big ones, organic city growth, all these places that died during the Industrial Revolution, the ones that are going to start coming back for different reasons, and why to invest in them and why not to. So we don't give investment advice. We give the information that helps people see the future, avoid the dangers, and seize the opportunities.
Yeah, and a reminder to our listeners, our December 30th edition of This Week in Money will feature Gerald and his look at the trends we can expect to happen in the new year. And Gerald, by the way, how can people find out more about the Trends Journal?
Oh, simple. Go to trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com, or trendsresearch.com, trendsresearch.com. Guaranteed, the only place, money back guarantee, the only place where you read history before it happens, and it's only $99 a year. And again, if you don't like it, we give you back your money. The Time magazine was just bought by another publisher. In Time magazine, you mean last week's news tomorrow? Trends Journal is tomorrow's news today.
Gerald, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, available online at trendsjournal.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet. Our email address, if you have any questions for Gerald or any of our other guests, is info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.